In this training module, you will learn how to refill this Stania 8F locomotive with water and coal before coupling up to a set of freight wagons. In this steam locomotive, the water and coal needed for operation are stored behind the cab, in what's known as a tender. Firstly, you'll need to prepare the locomotive to receive water. Walk over to the water crane, where you will need to move the water hose over the rear of the locomotive's tender. Now the hose is in position, climb up the tender and open the water hatch. Insert the hose into the tender tank once the water hatch is open. Great! The hose is in, and the tender tank is ready to be filled. Turn on the water and start filling the tender tank. Okay, now you need to fill the tender with coal. Move the train so that the tender is underneath the coal tower. Great work! The locomotive is now fully coaled, watered, and ready for service. Now, let's couple to the wagons. This locomotive and wagons use a hook-type coupler. Once you're close enough, you'll need to manually connect them to the locomotive. Slowly, come to a stop at the buffers of the wagons. You can couple either on foot or using the external camera. Good work. That concludes this training module.
In this training module, you'll be learning how to drive a BR Class 801 electric multiple unit. During this brief introduction, you will be taken through the critical driving controls and performing passenger operations. When you are ready, climb aboard. Take a seat in the driver's position so that you can prepare the train for service. For this introduction, you'll be completing a full loop of the circuit and performing passenger operations when you reach the next stop. Prepare the train for departure. To unlock the control desk, you'll need to insert and set the master key. The reverser is used to determine the direction of travel. Set the headlights, as this will let others around you know that this train is operational. To begin loading passengers, you'll need to open the passenger doors. It's time to depart. Close the passenger doors. This train features a combined power and brake handle. So, to get the train moving, move the handle into the power range. Coasting is a method used to efficiently maintain. Keeping to speed limits is important. If you begin overspeeding, apply a small amount of braking force by moving the power handle into the braking range. First introduced in September 2019, the Class 801s were built as a replacement for the aging Intercity 125 and 225 sets, which were the primary trains used on the East Coast Main Line at the time. The Class 801 fleet were designed as purely electric multiple units. However, they feature a single 560 kilowatt diesel engine fitted to one of the coaches for emergency use. This 9-car variant of the class has a maximum power output of over 4,500 kilowatts and has a maximum operating speed of 124 miles per hour. You're now approaching the station, so prepare to slow down the train. Use the power handle to apply some braking force to bring the train to a gentle stop in the indicated. Now that the train has stopped, you can open the passenger doors. Good work. That concludes all the basics of operating this train. In this training module, you'll be taken through the operation of this Class 66 locomotive. During this brief introduction, you'll be covering the critical driving controls and freight operations. When you're ready, climb aboard to get started. You need to insert the reverser first, and then you can move it forwards to set the direction of travel. Set the headlights to let others around us know this train is operational. The direct brake has 3 positions: apply, hold, and release. They directly affect the brake cylinder pressure, shown on the left-hand side of the desk, or on your HUD under the BC entry. While in the apply state, the brake cylinder or BC gauge will fill, meaning an increasing amount of braking force is being applied. Move the handle to the hold position to maintain the same level of braking force, and back to the release position to reduce or release the braking force. The direct brake is used to apply the brakes only on your locomotive and is faster to apply and release than the main brakes. If you're only running as a light locomotive, as you are now, it's usually quicker to just use these brakes. The brakes on this locomotive require us to hold the brake handle in the release position. You can monitor the state of the brakes using the larger brake pipe control gauge in the centre. Keep the brake control in release until you can see the brake pipe control needles are reading 5 bar. This will release the brakes fully. Now that the brake pipe control is at 5 bar, the brakes will fully release. Watch the brake cylinder or BC gauge to see it gradually reduce to 0, which tells you that the brakes are now fully released and you can move the train. As you apply power, notice the amp bar rising. This is the amount of power being fed into the traction motors. Try to keep this out of the red, as it means you're overpowering the motors and could damage them. Built in London, Ontario, Canada by EMD, the British Rail Class 66 is a 6-axle diesel electric locomotive used primarily for freight operations in the UK. Introduced in 1998, the initial order of 250 locomotives was said to be the biggest single order of a locomotive since the era of steam trains. More than 500 Class 66 locomotives were built, with the final one being delivered in 2016. The Class 66 has earned the nickname Shed because of its shed-like pitched roof. The freight wagons are behind you. Change direction with the reverser. Then change the indicated junction either by walking over to it or using the map. The junction is correctly aligned and you can now couple up to the freight. Approach slowly and stop, just before the buffers. Don't forget to release the direct brake before you apply power. You can couple and uncouple from either an external camera or on foot. Connect the formation using the external camera. Return to the first-person camera. Nice work. Change direction with the reverser and move the train forward into the indicated siding. You can couple and uncouple from either an external camera or on foot. Uncouple from the wagons on foot this time. That concludes this training module.
You've just been awarded some action points. These are displayed in the top right corner of the screen and count towards your overall experience. It is necessary to be fully observant of the surrounding world. Practice by looking up, down. This is one of many interactives to be discovered, but not all of them will be as easy to find as this one. You can pause the experience at any point and review previous and current objectives. Check it out now and then return to the game when ready. A lot of time will be spent operating trains, so when ready, sit in the driver's seat. A heads-up display has appeared on the right-hand side of the screen. This is a guide to what the train is doing. This is the speed display. The current speed will be represented by a moving bar. The red marker indicates the current maximum permitted speed. This is the direction display. An arrow will indicate forward, reverse, and neutral directions. This is the power display. A number will indicate what position the power control is in. These are the brake indicators. They show the state of the various brake systems, allowing independent management of them. In the top right are the signal and speed limit displays. These feature an indication of what is approaching and a countdown distance to when they will come into effect. Some of these displays can be hidden via the settings menu for a more challenging experience. This train is ready to go. Push the indicated handle all the way forward to get moving. Marseille Saint-Charles station is a major terminal station in the second largest city in France, connecting high-speed rail, including international services, with local regional trains. Train Sim World 2 allows you to ride and drive from an internal and external viewpoint. Let's take a look now while the train is in. You've only explored a small area here, so let's take a look at what else there is to enjoy.
Vous voici à la gare de Marseille-Saint-Charles.
Welcome to the beautiful south of France. Climb aboard the modern high-speed express TGV duplex train. Travel at speeds of up to 320 kilometers per hour using the TVM 430 onboard signaling system to move swiftly and safely. Drive from Marseille via Aix-en-Provence to Avignon. Along the way, don't forget to place route maps, hang TGV posters, restock first aid points, apply no trespassing signs, and repair broken cabinets. This is the LGV Méditerranée high-speed line. Welcome to driver training here at Marseille. Today you'll be learning to drive this SNCF Series 200 TGV duplex in camion livery. This brief introduction will cover critical driving controls and passenger operations, so climb aboard to get started. Take a seat in the driver's position because this is where you'll be spending most of your time. To begin, you will need to press the Service Retention Cancel button to take control of this service. In normal operation, this unit draws electricity from the overhead catenary via a pantograph. However, since the pantograph is currently in the down position, you have to power the initial systems by priming the auxiliary battery. To activate the control desk, set the master switch to active. Now activate the pantograph using the normal and DC positions on the different rotary switches so that it raises up and makes contact with the overhead catenary. The DC setting should be used in the area of Marseille. The LGV setting should be used outside of Marseille. And the AC setting is used in other AC overhead line areas. The circuit breaker will need to be set to allow power to reach the entire train. Now that the circuit breaker has been set, it will need to be armed. Use the indicator control to rearm it. Lighting is automatically set when enabling the master switch, but make sure you use the low beam lights when passing other trains so as not to blind oncoming drivers. Take a quick glance of the platform to ensure all is safe before unlocking the doors. Next, you need to do the brake test. This ensures that all the brakes are working correctly before you set off. First, press the brake hold button to hold the lead power car brakes into their current state so that you don't roll away. This does mean that during these tests you will not see the locomotive brake cylinder gauge move at all. And now press the emergency brake button. You'll see the brake pipe rapidly drop to 0 bar, verifying that this is working correctly. Use the brake neutral switch to disable the brake lever, which will display the blue light indicating that the release portion of your brake lever is now disabled. You can now re-engage the brake control by using the brake neutral switch and confirm that the blue light now goes out. Now that you've tested the emergency brake, you'll test normal brake operations. Then hold the train brake in the release position to raise the brake pipe to 5 bar. Hold the train brake control in apply until the brake pipe reads around 4 bar. And that's the brake system fully tested. The reverser is used to set the direction of travel. There are 3 driving modes on the TGV. Coupling and uncoupling. The speed is limited in this mode and is intended for coupling maneuvers. Manual control. This is usual mode for driving on classic lines. And selected speed. This uses the speed selector control and is used by the driver on high-speed lines to set the maximum cruise speed. To get started now, select the manual control mode as you are on the classic lines. It's time to get going. Set the doors to locked. For this introduction, you'll be driving as far as Aix-en-Provence. Finally, press the brake hold button and you should see the yellow light go out, and hold the train brake in the release position to release the brakes. The train is now ready to part, so apply a small amount of power to get moving. Coasting is a method used to Keeping to the speed limit is important. If you begin to overspeed, hold the brake lever into the applied position to slow down. You're approaching the voltage changeover area and need to change the voltage on the train in order to continue. You'll do this without stopping the train. Open and then close the circuit breaker. Lower the pantograph by moving the switch to the lower position. Change the pantograph mode switch to LGV. When your cab passes the REV board, this means that the rear of your train has passed the voltage changeover area and you can raise the pantograph. Do this now by switching the selector switch to the N position. When the arm breaker symbol illuminates, rearm the circuit breaker. This means you can now increase power up to the indicated speed on the TVM display. Nicely done. You're in good shape to continue the journey. You're now approaching Aix-en-Provence, so apply a small amount of brake force to achieve a comfortable, safe stop. Good work. That concludes all the basics of operating this train.